Welcome to a series of podcasts discussing series of films.
I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
In a world inundated with prequels, sequels, spin-offs, and reboots, we ask the question,
Do we need one more? I think we do.
I think we don't. Dude, I don't know how to tell you this. I don't know if you've been alerted.
Tell me.
You ever heard of Superman?
Yeah.
Last Son of Krypton?
Yeah. I'm aware.
He's fucking back, dude.
Would you say he's returned?
We end the episode right there. That's it. It's just outro plays. Thank you for listening, and we need one more.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh. It's taken us
Superman
decades.
returns.
Superman as a new movie.
Yes. There was I guess 20 years is the gap, right, between
It's-
Quest for Peace and this.
Yeah, I think 86 to 2006,
Yeah,
right?
because I know there's a bit in the trivia that like one of the last lines of Quest
says,
for
"See
Peace
you in
is
20."
Yeah, see you in 20
That's
at the end
right.
of Quest for Peace, and then coincidentally, like 20 years later, we finally get Superman Returns,
That's right.
directed by Bryan Singer.
This movie's directed by nobody. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we don't have to go
He
into
did
too much
direct that movie.
details on that. You can
Yeah.
look that up on your own.
We're
here to talk
pretty-
Superman,
Yes.
and whether or not we need one more.
That's right.
Uh,
If Superman should have returned.
yes, we're not
Should
here
have
to talk
returned
about
after
the
returning.
outside lives of an actor and a director,
Of-
maybe associated with this movie.
Yes, of terrible people. We will not be discussing their
we
terrible,
don't
terrible
endure
actions
terrible
that we don't endorse.
things, though.
Yes.
But
we are going to talk about The Boy in Blue.
The Boy in Blue, Superman Returns, portrayed here by Brandon Routh.
Yes.
What's your relationship to this movie? When's the first time you saw it? Did you see it in theaters?
No, I don't think so. So I've kind of said this before. Like my family is it wasn't a massive movie household. Certainly wasn't a massive comic household. I was kind of the first to kind of get into that stuff. So 2005, I'm like 7 years old, and I remember seeing some of the marketing, like, you know, we were just talking about it off air a little bit, like the eye shot of the bullet. Like
the
I
bullet.
remember that, seeing
yeah.
that as a kid and being like, that's fucking cool. But I didn't watch this movie until I was like 19. It was one of those nights where, like, you know, you can't sleep or whatever, and I'm like sitting at home, and I put this movie on because I think we were talking about it. We were like, one of our days, like hanging out with our old group, we were talking about it, and I couldn't sleep, so I was like, oh, I'll watch Superman Returns, and I watched it for the first time. Thought it was really long.
It is very long.
I still think that. Spoiler alert.
All I was thinking of was that Tom Cruise quote about like the length of a movie.
Doesn't matter how long it. You could say it.
Oh no, you're doing it. You got
it doesn't matter how long a movie is. It's
how long it feels. Yeah, and you feel every second of this movie, I think.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not bad. Sometimes it is.
That's true. But yeah, so this is my second time watching it ever.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the CW shows.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Smallville's right in its prime at this point, right?
Smallville, yeah, is kind of riding strong right around here. I watched all the Arrowverse stuff.
Yeah.
Brandon Routh comes back as he plays Ray Palmer, the Atom, and then in Crisis on Infinite Earth, he gets to come back as what is assumed to be this version of Superman is the thing.
Which is also acknowledged to be the Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yes, this is kind of the first like Lego sequel in a sense, where, like, you know, they decide they spend, you know, 20 years trying to work out what version of we're going to do. Tim Burton one, we're going to do a Batman versus Superman crossover, we're going to do Superman Flyby, which is written by
J.J. Abrams, Kung Fu Matrix Superman.
Yes, directed by at first Brett Ratner,
and then Mick
G. You know, two choices.
That is certainly choices.
Two directors that could have been hired for this movie in the early 2000s. And
people with a pulse.
All of that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Routh and Cavill both screen test for
Yes,
Flyby.
and there's fun little photos of them in a version of the Superman suit.
I will
which
say,
I would love to see the full version of that suit because it looks
actually kind of cool.
It looks really cool.
Flyby, I've looked at the story and stuff, and I've been like, that doesn't sound like something I would connect with.
I don't know if I like the idea of Lex Luthor being a spy who reveals himself to be a
Kryptonian.
A Kryptonian.
Yeah. But the suit's pretty cool.
Yeah, the suit's pretty cool. Even if it does just go down to the elbows.
That's true. But yeah, so
presumably.
So I saw Ralph on there and stuff like that. But yeah, so they decide to keep the canon of Superman the movie and Superman 2.
Yes.
And
they throw it
toss
3 and 4.
out 3 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
A
popular strategy for movies.
Yes.
Later.
Yes. So yeah, this is kind of the first movie that really does.
It's the first movie to be because this is like in an era of movies getting rebooted. We have Mission Impossible sort of being the
sure
template for the most successful version of that. A lot of failed, let's take it and redo it big movies at this time. And so yeah, this one's kind of coming at a different angle of what if we do a sequel that's kind of just a reboot.
And I will say, and I don't know how you feel about this,
but it's also just a remake.
Yes. So I obviously, as we've discussed, love the Donner movie.
Yes.
Love Chris Reeve.
Yes.
Love the tone of those.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think this movie runs into a lot of problems when it is in conversation with those movies.
Yes.
And I also think it's one of those feelings where you're like, if I want to watch the Chris Reeve Superman movie,
yeah,
then I'll just go fucking watch the actual one. Kind of that
kind
of a vibe.
Yeah.
It's hard to do the cover version.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's like a really
times.
talented cover band.
Yeah.
On this.
And I'm not trying to knock the people who are not shitbags who made this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it runs into trouble, I think, when it is
I think that kind of is the Achilles heel of this movie. Is it is essentially just a greatest hits of the Reeves stuff, and the stuff that they bring that's new is controversial, to say the least.
Yes. Yes, many discussions.
Yeah.
What's your relationship?
So I definitely saw this in theaters, and actually I was thinking about today, I think this is the only solo Superman movie I have seen in theaters, because I missed Man of Steel when it came out.
Okay.
And if we're not counting the Batman v Superman stuff,
sure.
This is the only solo one that I've seen, and really loved it growing up, and then but I remember thinking the first time I saw it that the movie felt long, but liked most of it, and that kept me coming back to watching it every so often. This rewatch though, I really felt the length. And I rewatched it a couple of years ago. I think during COVID I watched it, and also thought same thing. Just the length on this movie is also a problem. It's just it takes a really long time to get going, and it's all good. It's just I feel like you're just kind of sitting there going what are we doing?
I feel like this movie was there was a time I think where this movie was talked about as being one of the bad superhero movies,
which I don't know that's necessarily a fair.
That bad.
It's not. It's just it really is, like you said. I think it just butting up against essentially just trying to retread all over the Christopher Reeve stuff, but with a bigger budget.
Yes,
is kind of all the movie has to offer.
Yeah,
and that just you're in the shadow of a very iconic movie.
I also think, and this goes, I think the movie is very melancholic.
Very,
and I think that is difficult at times, specifically because the movie is so long.
Yeah. That
because it's so at a whisper.
It kind of is.
That it's hard to really engage with it.
Well, it's like they're trying to do a more auteur angle to this, because this is a year after Batman Begins comes out.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they're trying to give it a more nuanced thing of what does it mean to be Superman, and does the world need him? But I feel at the same time the movie doesn't really do anything with those questions.
No, it's an interesting question.
It's a very interesting question, but I don't think they really do enough to actually tackle it.
Yeah.
Which I also think is kind of part of the problem of this movie, is the most interesting thing they're bringing to it, they don't really do.
No.
Because they're too busy just remaking the original one.
Well, I mean, jumping into it, it starts with Brando's voiceover.
Yeah.
It starts with just the destruction of Krypton.
Yeah.
Again.
Which is very cool.
It is cool.
Yes.
It's pretty good.
Also, fun fact: the title sequence in this, great to see,
Yeah.
but they reverse which direction the credits are coming from, which makes them very difficult to read.
That is a good point.
Because in the original ones they like appear and go back, and in this ones they appear and come forward. So
Yeah.
like before you would get to see it for a longer beat, but like these credits are hard to read if you're not going very quickly.
I do like the visual of traveling through space.
Yeah.
It did remind me of Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, but you know, neither here nor there.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought,
this movie doesn't have a Doom on a bazooka moment, so
no,
the bazooka's
which
on a boat.
sucks. I want to see
Yeah,
like a
we don't
guy.
even get a Luthor on it. Luthor on the bazooka.
All I'm gonna say is if Downey has a bazooka in Doomsday,
It's gonna go hard.
it's a 10 out of 10. I will cheer. I will go
Do you-
full soups.
Do you think Nicholas Hoult will look good wielding a bazooka, or just like
Nicholas Hoult could look good doing whatever he wants, frankly. Nicholas Hoult looks
is there
good.
he's a big old chicken costume, and
Period.
you're like eating, bro.
Yeah, Nicholas Hoult, very handsome man,
Yeah.
very talented actor. Big fan of
I saw a
him.
thing that he not only has he shaved his head, but he's wearing a bald cap over his shaved head.
Yeah, he is aerodynamic.
And the comment that I keep reading on the internet is he's bald on bald maxing, and I'm like, that's amazing.
Into that.
Levels of bald we've never seen
Unprecedented.
previously before the SpongeBob movie.
Yeah, Hackman was like, I won't shave my head. And
Nicholas Hoult was like,
Hoult
I
is
will
like,
double shave my head.
I'll do it.
I'll
and
rip
I'll
the skin
bald
off
cap."
my scalp to play this part.
That's commitment. Good
That
on
is
him.
commitment.
But yeah, so we
That's
kind
what
of
Daniel Day would do, you know?
we go through the whole Superman. That's true. Gotta love him.
Yeah.
DDL. But we do start with
Sounds like a procedure.
kind of a weird sequence with the Lex thing, with like the widow.
Oh yeah,
signing
the
away.
widow, who's portrayed by the like OG Lois from the.
Really?
Yeah, she's the George Reeves Lois Lane.
Huh. I
Yeah,
didn't know
and the
that.
bartender that is later with the bow tie that's
Yeah.
like serving them is that era's Jimmy Olsen as well.
Okay, I had a feeling that
Which
was
is
the
why
guy.
this Jimmy Olsen has a bow tie in this.
I have an opinion about Jimmy Olsen in this movie that we'll get to in a second.
Okay,
Uh,
a good one or a bad one?
it's a good one.
A stressed out one.
No, it's a good one.
I don't know what I mean by stressed out. I don't.
It's when we start talking about the performances. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
But this scene, I feel like, kind of really sets you in a weird
Yeah.
foot. With
Well, does it start with the boat or does it start with the meteorite coming? I forget the.
I think it starts because it
Oh
starts
yeah,
with,
yeah,
like,
it
the
is. It starts
lightning
with
or
the
whatever.
lightning and the thing. Okay, yeah,
And
yeah.
she's
Sorry.
like, you.
That's an interrupt.
She like implies that they've had sex.
Probably.
And also, I think they're married because he has
Yeah.
a ring on his finger
Yeah, he weds her.
that he drops.
It's a
in
dark
there.
opening.
Yeah, he like signs. She
Tricks her into signing over everything.
Yes.
In the name of love.
because he wants the boat.
He wants everything, but mostly the boat. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a long plan to
Sure.
get a boat.
Okay, this is actually because we're opening with Luthor. This is another thing where it's like Lex. We talked about Luthor's characterization in the Reeves movies. You know, not the most exciting Lex characterization. Hackman does a lot to really like make
Uh,
that
Sorry,
the original. That they're
Wait, sorry, which one's not interesting? Or
no that the characterization of Lex Luthor in the 1970s Superman
Yeah.
movies are really made by Hackman's performance.
Yes. Yeah.
And
There's
there
not really
are
a lot there to work with technically.
and I feel like, again, talking about because this movie is a sequel, we're just doing the same thing with Lex again, and
A little
it's
bit, yeah.
a little boring. I think.
A little bit.
I think
guess.
you know the actor who portrays him is able to play evil rich man
I think he does it.
surprisingly for
Yeah.
pretty obvious reasons.
Probably because he's not
Yeah,
acting.
it's probably not much of a reach.
I was gonna say I think he does bring an element to this that Hackman is missing, and it is that like the insecurity of it all.
Sure, I
That
see
he like deep down is like just seeing this guy fly around and do good really gets under his skin.
Yeah, I get
And then
that.
he's like, no, like I'm a Superman. Like
Yeah, I get
I'm the one who will like change the world, not you. Like, and why don't you share? Like that's arrogance. Like it is a hypocritical thought, but there's an element of that like insecurity that Hackman doesn't really like. He has sort of a comedic version of this, whereas like in this, it's like rooted in like why he hates the character so much.
Yeah, I see that.
You know, whereas before he's like, I don't like you because you meddle.
Yeah.
And you're the only thing that can stop me. But in here, it's like he genuinely is like seeing him be Superman pisses him off.
That's
which I think is a nice element to have, I think, in this. And I think it's one of the better details of this movie.
I do wish it was explored a little more because I feel like, again, we're just
well, yeah, again, I don't think they meet until like an hour and 45 minutes in.
They don't meet until the island.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the only scene.
Yeah, and that's basically the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So you
even
know,
though there's still 45 more minutes after that.
Yeah. So like, yeah, that stuff's a little weird. And Lex having to do the real estate thing again, where you're like, can't we do a little, something else other than he's like, I want land.
Yeah. And this one, he's like, instead of tectonic plates, he goes crystals.
Yes. But still with tectonic plates a little bit because he's gonna destroy. The eastern half of the United States. He goes west. What if I did it on the east? Interesting. Thinking fourth dimensionally.
Big brain thinking right now.
Parker Posey's in this.
Parker Posey's in this. And
Tsunami.
She's hilarious.
She's great. Great as always.
She's always great. I love when she's up in Beau is Afraid.
Yeah, that's right. She is really good in Beau is Afraid.
Wasn't expecting any of that.
But... No. Wasn't expecting most of what happened in Beau is Afraid. A movie that
I think I blocked out most of what happened into it because it just kind of stressed me out. Like,
a movie that we saw together and walked out and we were like, we liked it,
right? I think
it was just it was
kind of a lot.
I was talking with a coworker about this, and I was like, I just like couldn't comprehend it.
I honestly, I think for me, what helped my liking that movie was watching his short films. Ari Aster, specifically. If you go on YouTube, you can find a lot of his old short films, and his sense of humor. Knowing that now after seeing his short films made that movie a lot funnier to me because before I didn't think I knew that he was kind of like. Had like a dark sense of humor the way he does. And so like watching that and then going back, I'm like, oh, I get it. Like you're just doing what you do in your short films, but they gave you, $200 million to go do it this time. And you were like, I'm going to do what I really like to do, which is not horror. It's just like really stressful existential stuff.
Well, I mean, bet. Good on him.
Which I think he succeeds in. So I still have to rewatch that one, but I think that helped me in my understanding of Ari Aster as a director.
Lane. Great
Nathan Lane,
really good.
How you doing, champ?
Nathan
Lane as Lex Luthor would be really fun. Just saying.
That I'm in. As
Are
Perry
you
White?
insane? Oh my God,
would be
Perry White,
a fun Perry White.
Oh my God,
he's
Lois. You're a good-looking reporter.
And I say this.
You on the rooftop and the man in tights.
I say this with love to Langella and Fishburne and everybody.
Yeah.
Nathan Lane might be the only one that in the modern day could pull off Great Caesar's Ghost.
Yeah.
They do it in this movie, and I was like, "You're kind of reaching with that."
Yeah, yeah. Well, because they kind of, because like part of like the thing is they're competing with the Spider-Man movies right now.
This is a post J. Jonah.
This is a post like J. Jonah world where J.K. Simmons just walked up and like made history, and so they were like, let's kind of go with like a sort of more subdued guy, just so we're not drawing parallels. But I think you're kind of missing a little bit of the dynamic there with it.
Well, because it's like Langella could do the intense.
Yes, he totally could have done this
in his sleep.
Yes.
This I guess kind of actually I'll just jump into my point that involves the Jimmy Olsen thing.
Yeah.
The one thing, and I was talking with our producer Dish on the drive over here about this, is that it does feel like before every take that it was like there's the take that's in the movie and there's the take just before, and in between those two, the director of this film went to the actors and went, just bring it down a little bit. It feels like everybody is playing it like 10% understated.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of that, we're losing some bits. Like, I think Ralph is a good pick for Superman.
Yeah.
I think he's good in the role. I think his Clark Kent is a little quiet. Again, everything's at a whisper.
Yeah.
His Clark Kent is not as like bumbling. He's just kind of like,
he's just like awkward,
kind of funky. The one exception, and who I think is maybe the best performance in the movie, Sam Huntington is Jimmy Olsen.
I think he's fantastic. I think he brings a great energy that we kind of need a little bit more of in it.
Yes, and it's weird because the movie itself, again, it's weird because it's a sequel to Superman and Superman 2. But like the production design is all very Art Deco and all that stuff. Like it's all very heightened, whereas those movies from the 70s are just New York.
Yeah, it's just 70s New York.
Which I like the production design.
Yeah, I love the production design in this. I really, really like, because it got that like Norman Rockwell kind of thing going for it, which is
I think
A
totally
plus
fun.
in my opinion.
Same, but I think
but with that like comes like these really, like you said, like subdued
Very
performances,
quiet,
and I think it's part of them trying to make it a little bit more art house, you know, like because like again, like this director launched X-Men,
yeah.
and that movie opens with like the Holocaust, you know, and I feel like he was trying to do a similar, I mean, not quite to that same intensity, but I think he was trying to ground this one a little bit.
They had they had said they wanted it like a biblical epic,
Yeah.
and they wanted to lean into the romance.
Yeah, interesting.
To which I would say the romance doesn't really work a lot.
I don't know that either of those elements fully work. I see the biblical
I see how you're trying
element.
to do
I kind of see the elements of it, but I don't know that they fully succeed in that.
No.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also, this is a question I wanted to ask you. Do you buy a Superman who just leaves?
No.
Yeah, that's kind of
Not
also
really
a problem. And I never questioned that as a kid. I always thought like, ooh, scary Superman, he's gone. But the motivation for him leaving and going into space is wonky.
I also think, not saying that we have to see everything, I understand this, but it is one of those things where it's like him leaving Earth for 5 years.
Yeah, it's kind of a big deal.
Feels like something we should at least see a little bit of.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because it is, because it is.
Which
such a
I guess
strange...
also apparently the whole like setup for this Krypton being like parts of it being out there, that is apparently fake information created by the Cal Penn character.
Yes.
Kumar was originally supposed to have a scene that revealed that he was like a disgraced
like
Daily Planet scientist or consultant or something who like fabricated the data to trick Superman into leaving so that he would miss Lex's court date. That was like on purpose apparently in the original script, but it got cut, which I kind of think is good that it got cut.
It is, but
in
then
a way,
also
but I
Cal
also
Penn
feel like it,
has no lines.
He has no lines.
He says nothing and then he dies.
That's
he gets
hilarious.
crushed by a rock.
Yeah, he's like, I gotta go work for Obama.
Yeah, hey, good on him. But yeah, it because it's like I'm not advocating for the movie to be longer because I think it's maybe too long.
I think it's too long. Well, I would say we should just trim some other stuff.
Yeah, but
or speed it up a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
Speed it up a little bit.
Truncate information, possibly.
I will say there's some real good Superman stuff in here. Some Supermaning.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, the Supermaning stuff is great.
I think.
Even if it is like, I know we said it a lot that it is like in contest with the Reeves stuff, but it is really well done.
Well, I think what's cool is that you can allow this Superman to do stuff that the older Superman couldn't do just due to the technology.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the CGI replacement does not really work for me at times. It does, because sometimes they'll do Ralph composited into a sky shot, and then sometimes they'll do a full CG Superman.
Yeah, there's a reason you don't see his face a lot when he's flying.
And you should not, if you're doing a close up, like at the end,
wild
like,
choice.
Don't do that.
I was like, oh,
well, because you're gonna cut to real Ralph to do the smile to the camera.
Yeah.
30 seconds later.
Yeah.
It's like, just do
the blend's not great in certain parts of this, I would say. But
I will say, I actually think the movie looks pretty good.
Generally speaking, though, I think it looks good. But
it's still got the like early 2000s like blue tint, but like
but do you remember that
interesting.
part in the first Harry Potter where they're like riding the troll?
Yeah.
And the CGI in that, it's like that.
That's exactly how it looks. You're totally right.
It's just like, ooh, what a rubbery man.
It's not that. It's like what, 4 years off?
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years away.
But we were also on the heels of Batman Begins. So like the tones of what superhero movies and what we want are about to get shifted on its head.
That's true.
Also, before we go all in on the Dark Knight,
something I noticed. So we get a brief flashback of young Clark.
Yes.
I like that stuff.
I like that stuff too.
I think the colors are very fun. It is weird to me. Young Clark looks a lot like the man who directed this film. I feel like there's something there.
I thought he looked like Harry Potter straight up.
He does look a little, if you look at a photo of the director and you look at a photo of young Clark, they look quite similar.
Interesting.
But I do think the flashbacks are good. Like, again, like they're kind of recreating the visual effect of the super speed, which is fun. I like the jumping. All that stuff is interesting.
I will say the cut going into the flashback, a little jarring because it feels like it's him running and getting his powers back, but then it cuts to a younger version of him.
Yeah.
And there's something in the edit in there that like always makes me feel like I'm about to see Brandon Routh running, and I always get disoriented when it's him young again.
I will say, again, like talking about how good the movie looks, a lot of the practical stuff, I think the practical ship is really cool.
Yeah.
when it's like crashed into the Kent farm is really great.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Clark did not need to throw the baseball that far.
No, he didn't.
You're in control of
Kind of
that.
said "fuck you" to the dog, which
It's
I thought was
kind of
rude.
a dick move. He's kind of a creep in this.
Yeah, he is.
He's kind of
he
a
cucks
weird
people
creep.
in this one, and it's like,
Well, he spies on them.
yeah, he spies on them.
I was like,
Straight
don't-
up trying to woo her again, and
Like
I don't
again,
know.
it's like the idea of like isolation and feeling alone. But
Yeah.
it's like that having him spy on people is not in
Yeah.
a way to keep that interesting or engaging or likable.
No, it's a little creepy.
It's very creepy.
We'd love to, which is not to say Brandon Routh is giving a creepy performance, but just the actual actions of breaking down are a little creepy.
Yes.
But okay.
So yeah,
plot.
so we're-
So Luther steals a boat.
yep,
He says, "Here's my wig," which
Yep.
is a great power move.
he's got a couple of them.
He's got a couple of them. They take that boat. They go to the Arctic. They steal some crystals.
Yep.
For the real estate scam that we've already mentioned and
We get
covered.
Brando recreated
Yes.
of sorts. They use
Yeah,
audio.
Brandon
and
recreates, which
stuff like
also
that.
looks really cool.
Does look pretty good. They do a good job covering that,
Yeah.
so it doesn't look as bad.
Yeah,
as
I think it's a really
some other
cool
stuff.
effect, and I like the way he looks in the crystals and stuff.
I agree.
think that's really
that's
fun.
cool.
Although I'm trying to imagine, because I think it was established in the original Superman movie that Clark was in Fortress for like 10 years, and the idea of having to look at that to learn everything for 10 years, I would think would be like, I need
would drive
to
me
leave.
insane.
I need to leave. I need to leave.
Yeah, I'd be like,
I think I'd go insane by like year 2.
It's like watching a 3D movie with your glasses off. You're like, what the fuck is going
Yeah,
on?
you're like, I don't know what people are talking about. I don't think Cameron really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. But
Jellyfish.
yeah, so and then Clark returns to Earth.
He turns it to Earth.
Comes back to
no
the
one
Daily
questions him coming back at the same time Superman does.
Nope. They're like, hey, than's for coming back from your trip.
They're like,
where
hey,
you
how are the
were-"
llamas?
Yeah, that's a fun line.
Yeah. Did you meet anyone?
That's right. And he's gone for 5 years. He learns that Lois has lost her faith in Superman.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good. Well,
Cool
fair.
idea. I also don't like Superman. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
But
it's
yeah,
established in this that they smashed. So, spoilers for this. If,
this is
probably
another.
should add spoiler alerts to the intro so that I don't have to remember to do it.
That's fair. Unless I think we've said it before, and just sweeping rule. Unless it's a new movie, we're going right into spoilers.
True.
But
But yeah, so like, yeah, the idea of him smashing and then flying away for 5 years, I'd be mad too.
this is another thing, again, talking about being in conversation. This is a this is a topic that has been discussed many times. Making it a sequel to the Superman 1 and Superman 2 makes that whole child thing really weird and confusing and kind of gross. I don't know how this works. Like, because presumably
Yeah.
there is a scene in Superman 2 where they get together. Presumably that's when it happens. When
Yes.
Jason is conceived, her memory is then wiped. Then she must immediately after that, she must get with Richard, James Marsden.
Yes. Who would have made an
And-
incredible Green Lantern. Just gonna throw
yeah.
that out there.
Yeah, one of those
Him
guys.
as Hal Jordan, I think, would have gone really hard.
Chris Pine. He's among the list of guys
Yeah.
where it's like, you would have fit that role really well. But yeah, the timeline of it is just, it's a lot. And where I feel like you could do, I'm not against Superman having a son. He has a son in the comics. You know, he has the kids in Superman and Lois.
Mhm.
Like, it can totally work. But I think because this movie's like, oh, well, we're just going 5 years. This is 5 years after Superman 2. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, then, like, what does that mean? Because, like, Lois lost her memory.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't...
Yeah,
There are
presumably
implications that are weird.
because they said that they don't take the full continuity, so presumably they're not doing the mind wipe part.
But again, it's just...
But
because the movie is...
or
when
maybe they are and they smash later again. Like, I'm not sure.
this is what I'm saying, is that it's just
Yeah,
too...
it kind of complicates the whole thing.
If it
This
was
is-
just a clean slate, you'd just be like, okay, at some point they got together,
Yeah.
Superman left. It would not be
Yeah.
something you'd have to think about as
This
much.
movie really set itself up with like a bad trap, trying to be not only a sequel but a reboot and a remake all at the same time.
Yeah.
By not picking a lane, they're locked into weird choices that don't make sense.
Yeah.
And then everything that they do is just being compared to what happened before in like a really aggressive way. So it's like,
They're also hitting similar beats at times.
yeah, they're hitting similar beats. They're redoing scenes with slight variations. But
I suppose this is kind of a greater Lego sequel kind of discussion. A lot of them tend
Yeah.
to do this. But yeah, it just, and also I think because of the story it wants to tell, like again with
Yeah.
the kids specifically, I'm like, you can't just expect us to not think about that.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
They
Like,
really do think we're not gonna.
it's
We
like,
know where babies come from.
she had a kid.
Big white storks.
Like, you're 100% right.
Yeah,
And did it come from the Fortress of Solitude?
probably.
Is it, from a crystal? I don't know.
Crystal stork.
Did a stork drop a crystal in a thing of water and little baby Jason came out?
I think that's the origin of Steven Universe.
I haven't seen Stupid
It's a
Universe.
lot of crystals and stuff. It's a good show. Really good.
but-
Good for the mental health, that show.
Fair. But yeah, I just think this movie, it just complicates itself, and I think
it's
said,
unnecessarily complicated for no reason. But yeah. Lex steals the crystals. He comes back. It's his job.
they go back to the house.
I guess they go to whose house?
The old woman's house.
They go back because they're gonna do their train set.
One of the dogs
Test.
ate the other dog.
Apparently, really dark joke for no reason.
There's a couple of those jokes with the dogs. I'm like, what? Stop! What are you doing? What is the
Someone
end of this?
likes the taste of dog. I think someone has a really sketchy past in this.
Well,
production.
maybe there's someone who directed the movie.
Bum, bum, bum.
But yeah, they go back and they test out. I like the bit of like we're cutting a fraction of a fraction off the crystal, and then
So you understand how bad the whole thing going in would be.
Yeah, I think all that's
it's a nice
good.
setup. So they're doing that. Lois is on a plane with a rocket ship attached to it. Seems like a bad idea, but it also seems like the kind of thing a rich company would do
Yes, it does.
to save money.
What is it supposed to do?
So the idea is it's like a
it's a
piggybacking
2-for-1?
thing. So instead of like having like all the rockets and jet fuel at the very bottom, you have an airplane carry it to a certain elevation and then separate, and then it would like fly the rest of the way into the atmosphere. So the idea is it's supposed to be like a fuel saving measure,
right?
is by strapping it to the back of a commercial airliner.
Okay.
Yeah, but for a majority of that flight, that means that the rockets or the ship's rockets are pointed at the wing of the plane.
Yeah, maybe
which seems like something you would maybe try to avoid at all costs.
It's like when you see jetpack designs,
Yeah.
and you're like, you realize that the thrusters are right on your butt, right?
Yeah, right in your ass cheeks.
It would,
to get that kind
like,
of propulsion would set your ass on
incinerate
fire.
you. Yeah.
No heat shielding there, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, so they're doing that. Lois Lane's aboard the plane,
Yes.
and then Superman's getting drunk at a bar.
Yes. Here's
like,
a drink.
like in 3.
Yeah, that's right.
He's not actually getting shit faced. I think he's
It's
just kind of
weird to
holding
see-
it Doc Brown style. But
Yeah. Oh, that would be great.
yeah, he's just
they're
like
like,
one
he
sip
didn't
goes
have
down.
That's such a great joke in 3. Well, how many did he have? One. Just one? Look I'm like, are you fucking serious, Doc? Like, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, Back to the Future 3. Good movie.
Good
I think
movie.
that movie's good.
Good movie.
I'm defending it on air. Not right now.
Not right now.
People don't like that one.
I know people don't like that one, but I like that one.
I like that one too.
We both like that one.
I think it's fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
the plane sequence is probably the highlight of the movie.
Yeah, the plane catch, and I think it sets itself up in like a Rogue Nation kind of problem where you're like the big stunt happened too early.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of like cool Superman moments, but they're all essentially the same moment.
Yeah.
There's a thing, and then he either catches it or picks it up.
Yes. And
That's
it's
kind of his two big actions. He's got
again,
2 moves.
It's cool to see Superman move
Well,
in this
3
way
if you count
because, like,
cucking James Marsden.
yeah, let's not forget he does do that. James Marsden in X-Men 1 and 2, and then hops over to do Superman Returns, is killed off in X-Men 3 to do Superman Returns.
Yeah, a thing that made me very angry as a child.
Agreed, especially because he just does a less interesting version of what he was doing in X-Men 1 and 2.
Yeah, which is a shame because Cyclops is a very interesting character.
Yes, he is.
Maybe one day we'll see that.
Well, he's in Doomsday.
Hey,
Who
they
knows?
said the reaction to X-Men 97 was like, fuck, we should really do some redemption.
All the people that were like, wait, Cyclops is cool? It was like, yeah,
Like,
man.
we've been saying that
I fucking know.
for a minute.
What if they just kill him?
Again.
He just Loki. He gets
Jean Grey's just like, bye. And
he
just-
gets full
Sentry.
Heimdalls. Just stat Heimdall.
Oh, he just gets
Then
stabbed.
Just
and
stabbed
goes down.
3 minutes in.
Yeah, or off air. He'll just like the rest of the.
Yeah, the glasses floating.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
but-
walk in. This time it's his underwear.
oh God. Oh, brutal. It's the helmet.
Like, no.
I would love to see that helmet. I think we'll get it one day.
Which helmet?
The or like the cowl.
The cowl. Oh yeah.
the
It's like
Cyclops
hood
cowl.
kind of thing. Yeah.
But it is nice, obviously, like in context when the movie comes out. Like it's cool to see Superman doing these things because Superman has technically, like just through technical means, has not been able to move in the way that he does.
No. But
and-
honestly, that moment though when he like lands on the plane, it's like boot, dun dun, da 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 da, and he's like da 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 da. Really sick, really really cool shit in that moment.
What do you think of the suit?
So I don't think I don't dislike the suit,
Same.
but it does have some glaring flaws.
When I look at it for too long, I start to go.
Yeah.
I start to like it less.
Yeah,
The more I look at
the
it.
more you stare at it, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
And friend of the podcast, Lance, has pointed out the two things that I think are the problem, and I couldn't put it to it, but his collar's too high
Yeah.
and his symbol's too small.
Completely agree.
If the symbol was a little bit bigger and you could just see his collarbone, it would be a lot better. Or if it was just like a full blown like actual like collar.
I also think the belt is very
Yeah.
thin.
Well, the
It's very
underwear
small.
isn't a great choice either on his physique because he's a very lanky Superman,
I don't
and
mind.
it makes him look kind of really like
it's a
top
weird look.
heavy.
I don't mind the color of the blue.
No.
I think the red is too dark.
The red is too dark. Well, he's essentially got the color scheme of evil Superman from 3,
Yeah, basically.
which is really weird that that's what they decided to go for this one.
It's and it is a little. I mean, like the boots have like 20 S's on them. Like,
Yeah.
there's a big S on the back. It's
yeah,
a little.
it's like a Nike swoosh kind of thing.
It's like over designed in weird places.
And yeah, in weird spots, in spots you wouldn't think. And then it's like under designed in other spots, like the flat blue.
Well, the blue actually, if you look, it's etched. They have they're all the House of L crest.
Really?
If you look at the details, it's like the whole suit is
Interesting.
like how they do the brick on the Spider-Man suit
Oh,
or whatever.
okay, yeah.
It's like all the S.
Couldn't tell that it had a texture, to be honest.
Feels unnecessary,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah. How do you feel about the material of this cape?
It's too thick.
It was like a trash bag.
It feels weird. It feels like it feels like an old toy.
Yeah.
Like one where you're like, I want Superman to fly, but the cape is just like in
It's
one.
like permanently stuck in a
Yeah,
shot.
it's a little too thick.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, it's a little too dark of a red. I also think it's weird that you're putting the S on the belt, on the shoes, on the
Yeah.
texture of the suit, but not on the back of the cape, my guy.
Yeah, we're gonna do it everywhere, but there. That was the one they said was too many.
The back of the cape is like the best part.
John Peters was like, I don't want to see him in that suit.
John Peters.
John Peters.
His
who
name
still
pops up?
He is a
It's
producer on
on
this
this.
and on Man of Steel. He technically, I think, owns the rights. I think that's what they said in the
You think he'll have a credit in
Superman Lives.
2025?
I feel like he would unless something happened with the rights, because John Peters takes over the rights from the Salkinds, who had it, and it was like in that weird overlooking that the rights were like essentially up for sale, and he snagged them
kinda
behind
grabbed
their
them.
back, which is crazy.
John Peters, what a fascinating man.
Yeah.
We do not have the time in the world to discuss how interesting John Peters is.
No, but if you want like a sliver of his personality, well, there's two things you should watch. One, watch Licorice Pizza, because Bradley Cooper's playing John Peters in that.
Cooper is great in that.
And that's amazing. But if you want like a full gist of what he is like, just watch Kevin Smith talking about Superman Lives, not the actual doc. The doc is great. Definitely watch that.
Totally.
But if you want like a 10-minute version of it, just watch him, because it's probably the greatest 10 minutes of stand-up I've ever seen. Is
Yeah,
Kevin
it's
Smith
really good.
explaining his experience trying to develop the new Superman movie that which is the Nicolas Cage one, which would be doomed ultimately. But yeah, it's a tight 10. It's a great story.
It's really good.
Everything that man says is insane.
I do love.
It's also funny watching him in the doc sort of defend that and be like, I never said that. And then like 3 other people being like, he totally said that.
Yeah, it's like he fucking said that. Don't listen to John Peters.
He puts people
fucking
in
said that.
chokeholds. He kissed someone on the mouth.
Yeah, he's nuts. Don't.
He's, as they put it, has a high energy.
What a nice way to put that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
On a scale of 1 to cocaine, I think probably cocaine.
John Peters seems like a guy who doesn't blink.
Yeah.
He's just kind of fucking eyeing
Yeah.
you
He's
the
just
whole time.
looking at you.
Yeah, it's like a tiger.
He's
Like he's
I'll
just
kill
like
you.
yeah. I will say I love all of the world cheering when Superman comes back.
Yeah, that's pretty
He
clutch.
saves,
I
he
mean, when he
flies
catches
away.
the plane, it's honestly, that's such a genuinely clutch moment.
It
Of
is.
like that, and the way like the inertia
Yeah,
like
it ripples.
ripples throughout, and then he like the way the score comes in as he starts to like set it down like a baby. It's like, oh, that's like some peak Superman content right there.
It is. And him and Lois have an exchange. Again, talking about the performances. Kate Bosworth plays
Kate
Lois
Bosworth.
Lane. How do you feel?
I think she's good.
I agree.
I think she's good. I
think
feel
she's-
like I feel like it's just like not the direction of everything that's happening between the two is not really what I would like to see with this character, I think. And so I think it's like her whole plot line is essentially muddled pretty badly, I think. But I think she does a good job with what she has.
I agree. Again, I think she like the rest of the cast, basically, she's getting that like bring it down note.
Yeah.
But I also think, you know, there's this whole thing of the blackout, and she's like, I look, I've done Superman, like I want to cover the blackout or whatever. And that's right, I forgot that.
Giggling in the corner.
She's like, I've covered him. Fucking 11-year-olds. She's like, she has such a great like.
The adults are talking.
Like, can we be adults in a room, please?
Yeah.
That's such a good bit. Like not her saying I've done, not like their snicker, but her being like, listen. Like,
I mean, it's funny because like, you know, Jimmy's the one laughing, but how funny if it was Clark being like, I hit that.
Yeah, Clark has a little like he's got some a look in his eyes, but I do think, you know, like that plot line is involved in the story. I wish I saw Lois more involved in the story other than just being like
saying that we need to do a blackout. Yeah.
Well, because there's a moment where Perry White is like, you keep sneaking off to cover the blackout, and I was like, where, when, at what point? I'd love to see that.
He's like, where's my interview with Superman?
It's prevalent to the plot. There is a great line where she's like, where she says that I've covered Superman. He goes, that makes you an expert, so you'll do it again. Like, it's pretty good.
One moment I really love, I think it's later, but it's when Perry's grilling Jimmy about his shitty photo of Superman, and he's like, they're like, look at that, what is that? It's a bird, it's a plane, and then he walks in, you rang? Like,
that is a pretty good.
It's a great way to do the bit.
There's some fun little the gag in the elevator is good when everyone's reading Superman is back and Lois and Clark are in each corner.
Great, very like other. Cary Grant, like kind of Philadelphia story. Yeah, His Girl Friday kind of thing. There's really good stuff in this movie. It's just sort of undercut by like the overall decision and direction, I think, is kind of what holds it back. Like,
yeah, it kind of is like, it feels like it's like forcing itself to be kind of dull.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't want to be so rude to say dull. Actually, I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, well, I don't want to crap on it because I do like a lot of the elements in this movie, but it's just, it is dull. It is long. It is a long watch.
I think it understands Superman pretty well,
for the most part.
But also it is the thing of like, well, does it understand it because it's just doing what
that's the problem, I think,
did.
is like, I actually don't know that they do understand Superman, because the parts that they understand are just lifted directly from Christopher Reeves in the Richard Donner version, so it's kind of like debatable whether they do, because the elements they introduce are a little creepy and weird.
People don't like.
Yeah, the stuff that people don't like, the controversial elements. But yeah, so there's the blackout, the plane catch, which is awesome. Basically, whenever Superman's saving people, it's great.
Yeah.
So we have that. Everyone's back. She's sneaking off, like you said. What happens next?
I mean, we get we've talked about him a little bit, but we understand. We get to meet. You know, we meet Jason.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Jason?
I mean, he's a cute kid.
On the spectrum of like, they usually say like, don't put kids in movies.
Yeah.
This one's pretty good.
He's a good kid.
I like him.
He's a sweet kid. I like the idea of this kid. His conception is problematic.
That is problematic. Yeah. But I like him. I think it's interesting. And again, you kind of mentioned, like, it's like isolation. Like, that's an interesting thing. There's an interesting
theme in this movie that he leaves to, like, because he's like, I needed to know if I was truly alone, and then to find out later in the twist that he is the father and that he isn't alone is like an interesting sort of Shakespearean tragedy of the whole thing, that he lost 5 years, when if he had just probably stuck around like 2 more months, maybe if we had a conversation, maybe he had tried to say goodbye, he wouldn't have left, would have solved that problem pretty quickly.
Wish we would have explored that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Something I do want to call out in terms of stuff that I think is good. The score.
John Ottoman, really good rendition. It's a good thing they had access to the John Williams score, because they use it really well in this.
I think that, but it's even nice when he gets to do. There's that score that da, 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 like when he's like look, and I was like, that's a good.
No, there's some good additions to the.
Yeah.
I almost said canon, but I mean, I guess
kind of
the score, I guess
the
it's part of the franchise.
Superman sonically, I suppose. You know,
diegetically.
Diegetically. Sonically, to reference last week's episode on Steel.
Pew, pew.
But
Um,
yeah, and then
the kid should have been in a wheelchair that had rockets.
if only.
Um,
But yeah, I will say another fun piece of bit. Again, we talked about it in the marketing. They do the Superman stops the criminals with like
Yep.
the big massive gun
Yeah.
that makes no sense, but
Makes
I don't
no
care.
sense.
It's really
Clothes
fun.
don't rip off, and they're just shooting anyway.
Yep.
Probably a bad villain. Probably a reason why he got caught.
Yep. He just the Superman and Lois or Supergirl actually, when Superman shows up on that, there's a great moment where the guy fires a bunch of bullets at Superman. It doesn't do anything, and then he hits him.
Yeah.
And then Superman picks up the guy and he goes, I've always wondered, if guns didn't work, why punch me? And then throws the guy, which is a great moment.
These guys
and
don't learn.
It reminds me of that, where it's like, if like the biggest fucking gun in movie history didn't work, a handgun, you think is gonna work?
Yeah.
Like,
it's a ditch effort. Real Call of Duty, like.
My only assumption is that he thinks maybe the suit is bulletproof.
Maybe. True.
But
True. I can't read. He didn't read that interview from 5 years ago.
That's true. I'm doing the movie's work for it.
I know.
A little bit with that, but that's okay.
Yeah, you could just argue that he's a dumbass.
Yeah. The bullet thing is cool.
Objectively, the like
cool.
sequence is kind of cool because he shows up and saves everyone.
Yeah.
So we got that,
and then
gets the saving.
Lex goes to steal the kryptonite from the museum.
Yes, which was a scene that I kind of thought should have been in the original, them stealing the kryptonite, because I think it. Like, they take a really long time to reprogram the missiles in the original one, and then here doing the like distraction so that they can like break into the museum and get the kryptonite. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good sequence.
Fun distraction. I think the car save is cool.
Yeah, because then you get to recreate the Action Comics, which is always wonderful.
It's always a night. Kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 2 when they go to react to the car when it's flying and it stops. But like when Kitty is driving and she's about to crash into the restaurant and it just quietly glides. I was like, that's
like
cool.
Grease.
Yeah. Oh shit. It's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. But
go together.
Yeah, I think that stuff is fun. It is weird when it's like $10 donation, he drops a quarter in there.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of wish he took the money.
Yeah.
I actually was like hoping that I was like, make it more of a he's still donating.
Yeah.
It's not a lot. He's still a cheap fuck.
Yeah.
But what if he just
what if he just took candy from a literal baby?
Like if we like walked past it, he stole the kryptonite, and then they go and they look, and then the money is also gone.
Yeah.
Like that kind of fun. And he's like,
they're like, what? How did he? We're closing in 10 minutes. We only need 5.
That's pretty fun.
That was fun.
Lex and his wigs.
Lex and his wigs.
What a goof.
Put on a performance. Notice we watch a lot of movies where there's like a character who has to do a performance.
That's true.
Yeah.
We love our theater
acting
kids.
in the context of the scene.
Into it. Thank you.
Yeah, so we steal some kryptonite. Then I guess we get the like interview on the rooftop. It's kind of the next big thing.
We go to that.
Where are they at? Where they kind of debate the question, like sort of surface level. Does the world need a Superman? It's kind of the farthest we
get into it.
Yeah, it's the deepest we get. Which I kind of wish that scene functioned as like an actual breakup for them, instead of it's just kind of like a weird, sad. You were gone.
Yeah, it's kind of the resurgence, I guess, of her feelings for him.
Yeah.
And they do the flight.
Yeah, they do a version of the flying sequence,
which is
good.
It's good.
I mean, it's good. It is again just essentially a retread. Although I think it's funny that he like they have a small conversation when they're flying. I like that she stands on his feet.
Yeah,
and then he like floats her around. I think that's kind of
I like them not
a really
realizing,
intimate touch. Like
when she's like, "Well, he's a pilot. Like he flies me around all the time," and he's like this, and then
he's like
she looks down and they're in the air. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, it's a nice moment. I think it's funny though that they have the conversation. She's like, "Okay, I'll take you back now," and I'm like, "You're just gonna float down," and then he takes her on a big tour through the city. I'm like, that line probably should have been right after, near the end of that sequence.
It's also but it doesn't. It's again very melancholy. It doesn't really have the wonder.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have the magic. It also doesn't have the voiceover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you read my mind?
Yeah. It's just like it's weird too because it's like, yeah, she has that whole thing of like, holy crap, it's Superman, and in this one, they have a very strained relationship. He did a very shitty thing. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
She has every right to be pissed.
She has every right to be pissed in this movie. And then it's just like like you said, like there's no wonder to it. So it's like sort of like what's the angle here?
Sure.
It just kind of plays into like it kind of makes him look bad.
Again, they said that they wanted to lean into the romantic aspect, and it's not that I don't think Ralph and Bosworth have chemistry. I think they do, but I feel like we're just like not really letting them.
No.
Like I don't feel the sexual tension that I felt with Kidder and Reeve.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel like a lot of the like, I don't feel like it's like a couple. Like I feel like it's not love lost or anything. It's just kind of like, hey man, what'd you fucking do that for?
Yeah.
It's kind of what it feels
I feel
like.
like she should be angry after she starts swatting him. Like, what the fuck?
She should
take her shoe off and just start smacking him.
Because I think in the text, I think it's there.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
But I just think they're just too. A lot of it's pulled back. It's very understated.
It's very pulled back. Yeah.
And I think that kind of suffers.
Yeah.
Makes the movie suffer a little bit. But Lois, she sneaks onto the yacht. They find out that it's
later. Well, because she's up for the Pulitzer, which is like a big.
Well, she gets it, doesn't she?
Well, yeah, she gets it, but they're handing her the award like the night the third act finale is occurring because that's why she's wearing the dress and stuff. And Perry White's like, "That's tonight. Who cares? You got to show up." So drop
that's right,
because
he's in the tux or whatever.
Yeah, and they're all supposed to go to it and stuff. We never see the venue.
No,
presumably it gets destroyed.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, so we have like essentially what's like a breakup, goodbye kind of thing. But yeah, there's something about the way that scene plays that doesn't really work. And then she sneaks on the boat, she takes her kid.
Trapped.
Bad idea.
Yep, you find out it's
not bring your work to kid day, Lois.
There's that weird bit where Luther's like, Lois Lane. Like
Lois Lane.
He's got the toothbrush.
Yeah, it's pretty funny actually.
It's pretty funny.
I kind of like that moment.
I don't think it's bad. It is weird. It's oddly unthreatening.
Yeah.
But I do like Jason being like, "You're bald." Like it's just,
such a kid.
It's such a kid thing to just point shit out.
I was 100% that kid, by the way. We're like,
we were all where it's like, "What's that?" And it's like, "Shut the fuck up," like kind of thing.
Like, Dave, keep your inside thoughts to yourself. I'm like, what?
But yeah, and we find out Jason is a 5-year-old who can play the piano pretty well.
Yeah, well, he was playing it earlier and practicing it.
That's true.
We actually find out that thug has a tattoo on the back of his head.
Yes, of the Joker?
Yeah, I guess it's a reference to
clown?
John Wayne Gacy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
But I don't know how much that tracks.
And then
Interesting choice to be like, who is this guy? Has a tattoo of a male serial killer.
He like shows it off and he like gives the smirk, and I was like, yeah, you are a fucking scumbag.
Like, you're scary. I hope someone throws a piano at you.
Yep. Jason White, killer of men.
Yes, a kid's got a kill count.
He fucking that guy he never
eviscerated that guy. That the guy's a paste on the floor.
He's never been more dead than he is.
No one has ever been more dead.
There's a moment where they cut
who's
and there's
more
like
dead?
blood on the ground.
That guy or John Voight at the end of Mission Impossible?
Oh, John Voight. Because he blows up. If the piano, if it hit him and then the piano exploded, I would be like, okay, that guy died pretty hard.
Now, what if I told you that when this sequence is sort of over with the boat sinks Titanic style, and presumably his paste of a body is still there? Does that change the stakes for you at all?
It's close.
I'm still thinking the explosion tops.
Well, because you also see Voight get crushed. You see him like, ugh.
He's just supposed to go.
Like,
as he peanut butters on
bread.
There's
a brief Raiders, watch him melt away thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, good question. Voight, I think, still takes the cake. Yeah, guy who has never actually, who has died harder? Shea Wiggum in Kong Skull Island.
My God, that is maybe the funniest sequence in all of cinema.
No one has ever
him getting heroically chink 2 grenades and then getting swatted so disrespectfully into the side of a mountain.
It's the best. I unironically love that death so much.
It is so good.
The way he fucking swatted away and like the little like explosion. It's Wiggum, Voight. It's right
Wiggum,
like that.
Voight.
And we will continue to expand the list as this podcast continues.
We'll have to do like a top 10 who's more dead list at the end of this.
There's a club of big guys in coats, there's a club of little guys in glasses, and there's a club of guys who have died really fucking hard.
It's more like a Hall of Fame, really.
It is more. Yeah, it's an MVP kind of
MVP
shout out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we found out Jason
is the son of Superman,
who kryptonite doesn't affect him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah. Do you think he could be shot in the face? I'm not endorsing shooting a kid in the face. Sorry, let me clarify that. I'm just like wondering. I'm wondering where the differences are really, I guess. And I was just thinking Superman could take bullets to the face, kryptonite bad. Kid though, maybe kryptonite okay, bullets bad.
Sorry, that made me laugh so hard.
Because the kid's got asthma, so I'm just like wondering what the like extent of his powers really are.
My headcanon, I suppose.
Like, will he be able to fly but not be invincible? I guess that was a really shitty way to explain that. But
do you think it could be?
It just really sounded like I just feel like everyone was like, Dave really hates kids.
No, I just thought that was,
which is only partially true, but
it was, you said it, and then having to like comprehend the answer, I was like, this is objectively really funny that we're discussing this.
I'm just saying, if he can't take a bullet to the face, he might take the cake for most dead. It's a child.
My headcanon is that he's like OG Superman power set.
Oh, so you like jump really high?
That it's leap tall buildings in a single bound. That it's like he has most of the powers, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Like kind of a thing.
Yeah. Kryptonite good, bullets bad.
Like Manhunter, where it's like weakness fire, and it's like, oh, I could have fucking guessed.
Yeah, Martian Manhunter. Everyone else got these like weird, intricate things, and his is just fire, like most people.
I did. Did you see that TikTok I sent you of the Super Friends thing, and they were all talking about Martian Manhunter and how kind
did
of
you send it like
overpowered he is?
recently?
It was a while ago.
Okay, I feel like I did. Did we talk about it?
It's funny. I'll show it to you later. We can't get into it right now, but it was pretty good. It's them being like, Martian Manhunter, you're fucking actually insane. Like he like just power set wise.
Yeah, no, he is. He's got some insane power. Run it down for the people who don't know who Martian Manhunter is. His power set.
It's everything.
He's literally he can fly. He can ghost through things. He can shape shift. Telekinesis. He can read minds.
And he has no weaknesses. The fire thing.
Fire just doesn't count because
it's a mental thing.
That's my fire, but I can't do the other things. Well, I just like Oreos.
In the TikTok, they talk about it where they're like, he's like, well, aren't you like weak to fire? And he's like, well, it's more of a mental thing, but I got over that. And they're like, so you don't really have a weakness?
So it's like a phobia?
Yeah. There's a moment where he's like, I can't believe we're talking about this TikTok, but he's like, well, like, you couldn't kill me. I'm Superman. He's like, well, I could like vibrate through you and then stop your heart with my hand. And they like look at him like, what? Like they're all realizing that Manhunter is kind of the one to be the most afraid of.
Yeah, it's like him and the Flash are like the most overpowered characters ever if utilized correctly.
Oh yeah. So Jason is the son of Superman.
Yeah. Just really strong right now.
Lex is going to create an island.
Yes, he's woven with the kryptonite into the crystal DNA, presumably.
So that
very smart.
Can't stop him. But Lex forgot to take into account the fact that Superman has to win at the end of the day because this is the movie. He forgot
the
about
power of plot.
Yes, plot. We forgot.
Yes. So obviously we get like a great sequence of Superman flying around, saving a bunch of people. Always good. Always gets me going.
Love the sand. I love turning into sand.
Turning it to sand, flying through the explosion, and then like breathing on it really fast.
Yeah.
I love when he shows up and pulls the boat out of the water, and then he grabs the three of them, and he's
great
like,
practical work.
And he's like, "Okay, do you got them? Okay," and then he just drops it. Like I think that's really awesome.
Agreed.
I like every time he shows up, and it's like the way his like feet land is so cool. The way the theme follows.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's like a really hype thing for me, and really kind of what makes this movie work ultimately. I think for me on this one, but yeah. So we get that, and then he has to go to the Kryptonite Island.
Yes.
Lex, what's the name of this? Otisburg? What are we calling it?
I'm literally, as you were doing that, I was like, fuck, can I think of like a witty thing to call this?
Yeah.
Kryptoniteland?
Okay.
Is that something?
Kryptonati?
That's pretty good.
LA?
Kryptonite. New Krypton?
New Krypton? Okay.
That's more of just like an actual answer.
New Lexington?
That's pretty good. Fresno?
That was better than LA. That was a good one.
Thank you.
Tampa?
Yeah.
It's the East Coast, maybe.
That's pretty good.
Jersey. This is Jersey.
It should have been a Superman 2 reference.
I feel like this is how New Yorkers think about
Houston.
Jersey, though. They look across the river and there's that, and they're like, yeah, it's Jersey. Don't go there, kid.
Could you imagine if he was like, I'm going to call this place Gotham? Like,
it's like, I hope no young billionaires get shot.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Oh, no. The pearls, they're everywhere.
Yeah. And he's like, quick, come over here, Joe. It's one of his henchmen.
Yeah. Joe Kumar.
Yeah.
I've never seen Harold and Kumar. It is Kumar, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Cal Penn's really funny in this.
He's
His
great.
little reactions are really hilarious.
I've only seen the White Castle. I've only seen that one.
Yeah,
which
I was
think
in
is
a
the
White
first one.
Castle spec ad.
You were?
I was. I never saw the light of day, and now I got the footage, so it might as well have never happened.
Hey, play to the actor. We've all had that stuff. I could name some names right now. The Kryptonite Island thing. So
Yeah. So I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
it doesn't, but
Let's
it's
just
like
get
that thing
that
of
out
like
there.
when he lands, he doesn't immediately throw up.
No, but he is.
Presumably, his powers should shut off the minute he gets in the atmosphere of this thing,
Yes.
and he should just crumple.
But when he is
like a paper
on the
airplane.
island, he doesn't have his power because he's able to be punched and kicked, and they stab
Yeah.
him on the island. So presumably,
it's like it affects him, but in a different way.
yeah, he's not like It's just like his powers
Yeah.
like shut off.
Yeah, because it's
basically.
like it seems to like slowly shut them off without him realizing it. Because he's there, but he doesn't even realize until like 2 minutes into the conversation that
it's not until he
doesn't
gets
feel
hit.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, hell of a shot from Lex. Like he's presumably his powers are off, so he's a regular 220-pound male,
Yeah, 6'4".
and he one shots his ass 40 feet backwards.
I would say this whole attack scene.
It's a good punch. I think Lex is a little formidable in this one in a way that I wasn't prepared for.
The attack is pretty effective.
Yeah.
When they are beating on him, like
No, it is. That's a really great sequence.
I could see
Can we
myself.
talk about the landing though when he lands?
Oh, it's killer.
Because
dude.
Dish brought it up. It's a killer landing.
It's a great landing.
It's an amazing landing.
I love it when a guy just fucking stands on business. You know what I mean?
just
Just
boom.
shows up.
I'm
I
here.
have something to say.
I'm a man.
And Lex goes, "How about that?" And he throws him. He just gives him a right
And
hook.
then Lex takes off his wig and throws it, and it turns into cellophane around
That's
him.
if only.
That's what would have made this movie. That's what it would have connected with comic book fans everywhere.
That's pretty good. Dude, Superman should have done that in this, and it would have been that weird fucking whatever fondant, like whatever,
Yeah, it's just-
whatever they used for the logo this time. But yeah, the attack scene is pretty good.
the attack is good when
Now
they're just beating on
Fly
him.
Is a good line.
Now Fly, the Kryptonite dagger is a really nice touch.
Yeah.
It
It is one of those ones where I'm like,
Yeah,
I
he
know,
takes that beating too. Like
Yeah.
before like he really gets hit.
it is that thing where I'm like, shoot him in the head.
I know this is probably a good time to shoot him in the head.
I'm like not advocating for that. Obviously, I
Yeah.
want Superman to live, but it's like, it's that.
Did you
it's-
say you want Superman to live,
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage style? They
Oh,
shoot him, he
shit.
comes back.
You know, if we really think about it, the death of Superman lives. It's true.
Flyby.
Nice. Legacy. We just keep dropping ones.
Max.
Oh, what was it? Yesterday we got that news that
Yeah.
Max is HBO Max again.
Yeah. As of the recording of this, we got. Have you seen the clip of James Gunn actually commenting
Yeah,
on
it's
it?
pretty
We had
funny.
to read the promo.
Cena did it too.
Yeah, everyone's like, "What? Like again?"
Yeah, are you serious? And the
Yeah.
people and the producers in the back be like, "Yeah, we did it yesterday."
Yeah, it's just where it's gonna be official. This is the first official. I was like, "Damn."
It's always been HBO Max. To me.
I've always
never
called it
really
HBO
changed.
Max.
Max
I've
was
never
a
called it
terrible
just Max.
name.
It was, yeah.
It's a goof.
Yeah,
Not
I
a
think they
streaming
literally just did
service.
that to get around certain residuals that they were trying not to pay.
Dumb.
There's like a weird caveat to that. Kind
Bad
of thing.
and dumb. Don't like
It's
it.
a dumb decision.
but so-
'cause, clientele goodwill, I think, goes a long way. I didn't
Warner
take a business
Brothers,
score.
having made
Um,
good decisions in recent history.
Yes, it's making good decisions after a long streak of flops. That's a
Yeah.
reoccurring narrative there.
But so Superman gets fucked up real bad.
Yeah.
Lois realizes that.
How do they find him? Does the kid just know telepathically?
I don't remember.
I just feel like I was thinking about it and I kind of zoned out, and then they were like in
I
the
kinda
water pulling
zoned
him
out,
out, and I
too.
was like, how did they fucking see him? Does
That's
he
funny.
float?
We both zoned out at like the same time.
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that. And then they like kind of look. He's like, you found me. And then she's like, yeah, we did. And she looks at the kid, and I was like, fuck, did the kid like compass his ass? Like,
I suppose.
was he like, yeah?
The screenwriter was like, and they find Superman.
And then
Um,
next to him was Captain America and Ice.
That's true. And Superman is healed, goes back,
Yeah,
and then lifts the island
Yeah.
because
he can
the movie's almost over.
because he has to.
That's
Yeah,
the-
so I'm of two minds of that. I think objectively, the idea of him being like, I have to do this, or like I can't fail,
yeah.
is such a powerful idea to me.
Agreed.
That like, because he's Superman, and this is like, I feel where like the kind of the dramatic tension of his character kind of, we haven't really talked about this, but I think one of the like tricks with Superman is obviously he's invincible, so the stakes usually come from, can he save someone can he save the day in time?
Yeah.
It's always a question of that. Like in the first one, he fails initially, and then he has to like turn back time and ultimately wins because he's Superman. And I think that that's an element of what they're trying to do here of like, he should fail, but because he's Superman, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a cop-out, but I also think that there is like a power to that notion in the character. But that being said, like that doesn't really work because it's like an island of kryptonite. Like mechanically speaking, it just doesn't.
Well, it's also because
I can only give so much credit. Like I can only like let my like what's the word?
Suspension of disbelief.
Suspension of disbelief. Yes, that is exactly the word I was thinking of. That like I'd only go so far with that, right?
Well, especially because 5 minutes before we saw that he is
literally 5 minutes
completely depowered.
Completely depowered.
Like it in the scene, it just reads as difficult. It doesn't read as like this. It reads the same way. If anything, maybe even less so, as like Civil War Cap keeping the helicopters together.
A little bit, yeah. It's like just mildly tough.
If you found out that Captain America's only weakness was exposure to helicopters, and he was just doing that, you'd be like, wait, how is he?
Yeah, I think you could
buckle?
argue though that because he drills like a hole and does the like I'm gonna slice it and then like lift it kind of thing. I think you could argue that he goes beneath and he's touching regular Earth at first, and then the kryptonite like starts like growing through it. But maybe I'm giving him too much credit on that.
I don't know. I mean, this is
like he's got a little bit of a barrier, so he's got like just enough time to hurl it into the sun.
Maybe.
But like at one point, like when he's like raising it and he's still just above Metropolis, I think the kryptonite goes like an inch from his eyeball.
He should just literally like drop like a fucking stone.
Yeah. It should be him being like, okay, I gotta go save the day. Flies into that tunnel, and then it cuts to the credits and it goes, Superman dies.
It's the newspaper.
It's just the newspaper.
That's a
robot chicken style.
That's a pretty good fake kind of twist where it cuts to the newspaper. It says Superman dead, and then he's like, "You really think?" That's
and then
a
it's
good
just
idea?
that shot of Perry White sadly sitting in his office, and it fades to black.
Yeah, I always forget this movie ends with him in a hospital, basically.
Yeah, because he dies and he comes back. It's like they really wanted to do the death of Superman with this one.
Yeah,
they really, really wanted to do it.
Well, Superman died in Flyby too, I think.
Probably.
But
I think he dies like in the middle of that one and has to cocoon his way.
Wanting to do the death of Superman.
Yeah, because it was the death of Superman was the comic that like saved DC from like foreclosing basically. Like comics were like, we've done this over and over again for so long, and now we need to do something big. Like you said, we have to kill him.
Yeah.
So it's just like love that idea of like killing him, and they try to do a version of it this, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting ending to say the least. He does the thing that he shouldn't be able to do, and then everyone's sad, and then he's just alive again.
And Lex is stuck on an island.
Yes.
Fun. Don't like the dog thing again.
Again, he's like, I'm gonna eat a dog. Damn.
You guys are so fixated on like eating dogs.
That's a hell of a threat. I would trade 300,000 coconuts and every pint of your blood for an ounce of gasoline.
Yep.
Now I'm going to threaten to eat a dog. This might be the most evil man I've ever seen on screen, man.
Oh, Lex. Oh. Can I offer a theory why?
This is the little John Doe from Seven.
Yeah, I was like, maybe because of the man himself.
Yeah, terrifying.
But yeah, Superman has a nice little... I like the monologue he gives to Jason.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't like that Jason's asleep.
It's creepy.
It's again,
well, he
it's
breaks
creepy.
in to give it, and so it's like that weird thing. Like if I was telling a story about a friend and was like, oh my God, and then her ex-husband breaks into their house and was just staring at the kid all night, and then I caught him when he was leaving.
Yeah, it's
weird. Like it's like objectively that's what's happening is a father who skipped out of town and then came back at the weirdest time.
Agreed. Yeah, and then there's the "I'll always be around" thing,
which is a nice moment.
Nice moment.
And then they're like, we're gonna co-parent this, I guess.
So Richard is still around?
Still around, yeah. It seems like they've sort of made like their peace with them being like a couple, but Richard will sort of like she's like, I'm in love with Richard, which is true.
Yeah.
He has to go do Superman shit. So
Richard has that line where he says something to the degree of like, "I'll always be there," or he's like, "I'll be right here."
Yeah.
Like when he's in the car, because she's like, "I have to go to the hospital."
I'll be right here as opposed to around.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, Marsden, just kind of doesn't do anything in this.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a lot to do.
Yeah.
He's just kind of there.
Good actor.
Great actor, completely underutilized. I think almost at every turn.
Yeah.
Except Enchanted.
He
eats in
great.
Enchanted.
Giselle. Oh, yeah.
I've been dreaming of a true.
I watched that
kiss.
movie not too like
Long
pretty
ago?
recently. Good. Thank you for I don't know why my brain completely short circuited on
It's
that.
okay. I was doing the Phantom Menace thing earlier.
Hey, fair enough. But yeah, I and then he does the smile at the camera.
He does the smile and the
which
wave.
even that's a little subdued. The smile itself is just kind of like a light smirk.
Yeah, no, it is. So, yeah, so that's the movie.
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
It's a mixed bag.
It's a mixed bag. I think there is certainly an interesting idea in the like. I left because I was afraid of being alone, and then I came back and found out that I wasn't, and has this sort of like second wind, like in the idea that he has a son. But it's such a roundabout way to get here, I guess, with him essentially smashing and dashing.
Basically, yeah.
Like, and I guess he doesn't know, but like, still. Like that whole conversation, part of the reason I think that rooftop conversation doesn't work is because he's talking to her like they don't have a history.
Yeah, they feel like they...
Like he feels like he wants to do like, remember when you interviewed me? Let's do that again. And she's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, how about...
We slept together.
How about fuck you?
Yeah. Which I think she should just say in this movie. I think they should really deal with that if they're going to do it.
You get one F-bomb.
Yeah.
Should have thrown it out.
Yeah.
But overall...
Yeah.
So obviously we'll get into the score in a sec.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on... Do we need one more?
It's the thing is like I like a lot of elements, but I think this movie's sort of failure to decide whether it's a remake, a reboot, or a sequel really makes me not interested in more of this. Even though I really like Brandon Routh and I kind of do want another Superman movie with him, this world that they've set up, I don't know that I care for. I also just don't know what he would do. It just doesn't feel like the place where Zod would show up.
Apparently the discussion was around Brainiac.
I know Brainiac. And Brainiac even was in a draft of this script apparently at one point. Or maybe that was the Superman Lives drafts and they threw him out. But like
he's been in a couple drafts.
He's always in the drafts. And I think Jude Law is like the strongest contender for Brainiac or something. Or maybe he was also a contender for Zod. I think they just kind of like Jude Law.
I've heard both.
Yeah.
That he was a contender for both. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I feel like it's that thing where I'm like, and not just because he's a fucking scumbag, but I would be open to a new director covering this because I think the cast is good.
The cast is really good. The casting is really good, but like
I think continuing on the Superman having a kid, as shown in the comics, as shown in Superman and Lois, there is ground to cover there.
Yeah, there is.
I think if the movie was less tied to the Reeve and Donner films, I think it would make it a little easier. I think for me, surprisingly, and I wasn't think I was gonna say I was gonna say this, I think there's enough to explore an interesting sequel, but I think we need to adjust the levels a little bit. I think there's a little bit of like Office season 1 to season 2 kind of. We need to change. We need to kind of change
it. Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, this movie's so long, and even the parts I like, it just makes me go like, okay.
Were you gonna say who would
you pick as the director?
The guy that I would love, the James Gunn. Very excited to see what his take on it. Mm-hmm. But for a very long time, and especially at this era, you and I have talked about this director, Brad Bird.
I fucking knew you were gonna say Brad Bird.
Should have been Brad Bird.
No, it was. I feel like there's an alt universe where this gets a sequel, and Brad Bird doesn't do Ghost Protocol. He does this instead.
Oh, true. Well, I don't know if I'd take that.
I wouldn't trade those two.
But yes or no, gun to my head. I gun to my eye.
Gun in the director's seat.
Yes. Two ends.
Gun.
I think for me, yes. I think we need one more.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
It's a light.
Would you like to see the kid doing like a version of the Jacket Superman thing, or like?
I think
because he's kind of a new version. I mean, he probably wouldn't.
If we were gonna get a third one, obviously the idea is that they were gonna do a trilogy. So like, I think in the third one that would be interesting to introduce the Superboy.
Yeah, interesting. You want to do our average?
I believe we're going to. Yes. So Superman average.
We need one more. We need one score.
Like we said, 5 or above 5.
It's an official
Is
stance
an
on this
official
podcast
yes
that we want one more.
from this podcast. The average score out of 10 is a 6.
6.
6 out of 10. So
6.
it's officially greenlit. Get fucking started.
Get started. We're doing it. We're going
Someone
back.
call Brad Bird.
Get Brad Bird on the line. Ratatouille.
Hey, Ratatouille.
But, oh, hey.
And then
too fast,
Ratatouille.
Backwards. Not
and
backwards
then
3, just the regular 3.
Ratatouille, but the A is a 4.
Yes.
Or
Rat.
Or is it Ratatouille
Dark, gritty
colon,
reboot 2.
like forks and all, and it's like 4 FOURKS.
That's kind of too good.
Hey, I am available. I call my agent. I have ideas.
Yeah.
No.
Super fun.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's official. We got a sequel. No, I think the idea of like someone like a Brad Bird stepping in to sort of like continue the story would be interesting. Because yeah, again, I like this movie. I really do. I didn't give it a very high score for the sequelability, but I just. It is what it is. But I actually give it a 5. So like I kind of technically am in the boat, I guess, technically per our numbers.
If anything, I mean, we talked about gross protocol. It kind of does need. Brad Bird is kind of the guy. It kind of needs the like.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch this in another direction to keep this going.
It's interesting. It'll be interesting next week to talk about Man of Steel and how to reboot this character essentially.
Yeah, because they've tried it a couple times.
Because like we're gonna get a very different version of Superman in the next one.
Yes.
And like, there's the complaint that like it's not Superman enough, but like this one also is too Christopher Reeves. Like, it's a very interesting thing. Like, I just really, what did this movie feel? Because this movie actually made more money than Batman Begins. And that got an iconic sequel, and then this didn't.
I think so. Part of it is because I was looking at this. So the budget for this was at least $203 million.
That is,
and it made 391 worldwide.
Interesting.
So double for marketing. It didn't really break even. It also allegedly is also dealing with the back end costs of developing Flyby.
Oh wow!
So it has an extra. However much, let's say 30 million.
Well, I mean, presumably it's doing that. It's also picking up the slack from Superman Lives, because that movie, I think they spent like 12 million on that just in the pre-production before they canceled it. Like,
yeah, this is the end product of several versions of
failed editions,
Superman, of a Superman movie coming off the ground, and then this comes out, and then Man of Steel kind of gets to start fresh, quote unquote.
Yeah, I just remembered another choice that was sort of the top choice for Brainiac with Jude Law.
Who else?
Christopher Walken.
Oh, that's pretty
Superman.
Good. I heard for Flyby,
give me your cape.
When it was Ratner, they were looking at Hopkins for Jor-El.
That's kind of great.
Kind of cool.
What could have been?
I know. Except he was in The Last Night instead, which came out like 10 years later. Not instead. You ever seen The Last Night?
Damn those scheduling conflicts. No, I haven't.
Crazy fucking movie.
Unlike you, I still have my sanity.
Oh yeah, I've gone insane.
Yeah,
I've lost.
You're just like the void. You're like,
I really did. I lost myself in Transformers: The Last Night.
I was like, Matt, come back.
That was one of those movies I walked out and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, so befuddled.
And just thunderbolts around like, doom.
Yeah, giving me a hug. I needed a hug after that movie. Yeah. But yeah, so Superman Returns.
Superman ones officially gets a yes. We'd like to see one more, but with some conditions. Any final thoughts? I guess. Excited for next week.
Yeah, I think
I'm scared for next week.
I'm scared about.
I don't have a good history with this movie. I feel like we've had a lot of conversations of this, and I'm like, God, we're still talking about these movies so long after.
We are about to talk about a movie next week, Man of Steel. We're about to talk about a movie that we have been talking about off air for. Our entire friendship, years, as long as we've known each other.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to rewatch it. I haven't watched it in a couple years. I rewatched it before the Snyder Cut. I rewatched all of them.
Which I have positive feelings. I have positive vibes for the Snyder Cut.
I do too.
Get ahead of the conversation next week, but
I'm not as worried about our actual us doing the episode.
You're worried about all the bots on Instagram coming for us?
I'm more so worried about the angry Simpsons mob that will be awaiting us.
Interesting. Yeah.
Post the conversation. in which we will say
Kill.
normal takes that everybody will find good.
Yes.
And we will have no issue with anybody.
None. We will not rock the boat next week.
We really want.
I won't comment on people's water habits.
We really want to build a positive community here. We'd really appreciate it if people wouldn't yell at us.
Yeah.
Or yell at us.
Be nice. I'm sensitive, guys.
They're just movies.
Hey.
No, I know. I didn't.
Cinema is life.
No, I know. It's gonna be. I'm bracing myself.
I know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But
I like Man of Steel. For the most part.
Yeah. I think in the context of everything, I do like it too. But at the time, I was a little. We'll get into it.
I don't like Man of Steel. Now you don't know where I stand on it.
Do you think Ethan Hunt will die in the next Mission Impossible? Actually, at the time this is coming out, we'll have an answer.
We'll already know.
So, future David doesn't know what's going on.
Wasn't it crazy when he died? / wasn't it crazy when he stayed alive?
Yeah.
Crazy. We're covering our bases.
Stay alive.
Yes. And then he John Travolta'd out.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
John Travolta greased in the
car. Just like Superman, I'm just going to gracefully just fly away from the mic.
Gracefully fly away.
Quietly.
And next week we will return.
Man of Steel. Thank you for listening to We Need One More.
Be sure to follow us on socials like TikTok and Instagram at WNOM Podcast to stay up to date on upcoming episodes.
And feel free to join our Discord community where you can share your thoughts on the movies we're watching together. That's going to be at WNOM Podcast server with the link in the bio.
Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. That's the best way to support the show and to let us know that you need one more.
We'll see you next week. This podcast is produced by Pilot 9 and 9 Ball Creative.